Again, one step at a time. And we're going to start with step D. And basically we're going to look at the parameters needed for perform choice, view choice, both the header and the call from the main. And that's probably all we're going to do for D. You will note when we look at D that the menu view menu choice, that function, we're not attempting to put the body in here because it's just a bunch of cout statements. We also have put in stubs in the perform view choice function, and the stubs merely announce what will be done when the body is implemented. Okay, so let's look at D very quickly and see what we have. It's going to look pretty much like the C we had before. Okay, and in the main we have decided how we're going to make the call to perform view choice. And we're going to look at perform view choice, and we see that we have the parameters set. All right, and now let's move to E. And here we're going to insert the actual calls to the carlot H functions. So let's take a look at carlot H and see what the functions are. You recall? Well, we have some sort functions, 3 of them: sort ascending, MSRP, descending, MPG, ascending, odometer. And we have to pass it an array of automobile class objects along with the count of those objects. Then we have two pick functions. One is pick by year. A reminder, you're going to pass it the whole inventory. It's going to give back to you a smaller set called set of cars called picked. So we need 2 arrays now. One is the whole inventory, one is the partial list of cars that were picked. And for the cars that are picked, you've got to be able to count how many got picked. It can range from 0 to up to all the cars. So let's go back in to perform view choice. See what we have. Okay, first I want you to note for case 1, we're basically taking the same code that we had from the starter and put it here, because view case 1 is the same as what you had before. Almost. There's a small little difference here, which we will probably see in the next step. But here's the code that will view cars. How many of y'all realize that the same basic loop is going to appear in each of these functions? What will change is sometimes you will be going through the whole inventory. Other times you will be going through the picked cars. So let's take a look at some of our local variables. Okay, let's look at our algorithm down here for 5. For 5 it says we're going to read the year, and we're going to pick cars that match the year. And what does that mean? Well, it means we need a variable called year, and I don't think we have one yet. So under the local variables, we need to go ahead and create one called year. Is it clear that we will okay? You may, in the course of doing this, realize you need other local variables. So let's just do this first, though. All right, and let's see what we got to do. We say we're going to make an array picked from cars matching the year. How are we going to do step 2? Well, step 2 sounds like we need to call the function pick by year. So let's do what we did before. Let's just copy the code. Notice that I'm not putting in all these steps, but I can put the code right in here. Here's, make it a comment for starters. We'll make it a comment just so I see what the pattern is. And then I'm going to make the call. How do you make the call? Make the call. I have a variable called year. I need an array. What array do I need? We said we're going to create an array called picked. So what does that mean? Do we have one in this function? No. So we have to declare one. What kind of an array is it? It's an automobile class array. So we can pass it. When we create this array, do we need to know, well, I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing this wrong, We need inventory, we're going to pass. And we're going to pass the number of cars. We need an array called picked. So we probably need to go ahead and declare a local variable that has this array. I put it here. And again, we don't know how big to make it, so let's make it 30, okay? Which kind of corresponds to what we had in the main. And we also need a counter that tells you how many you have. So we have num picked. And we know in the beginning it's 0 because we haven't done anything. So where are we? So we kind of have this, and we have an array called picked. We've declared it. We have a variable called numPicked, and that's our call. Once we have the call in place, we don't need the header because we've used the header to formulate the call. And so now we have one instance of calling one of the functions from PROG5a functions. And you will do the others the same way. Is it clear that you would call a sort function? Which sort would you call? What sort would you call? Well, it depends upon how you're sorting. Up here, what would the call be? Well, we'd find the sort MSRP. Where's the sort MSRP? It'll be here. Copy it. Here's the sort that's converted to the call. What are we sorting? We are sorting the whole inventory, and we pass it the number of cars. And that's all we have to do. All right? So let's try to compile this. It looks decent. It looks like it compiled. And we can compile it with everything. It'll probably compile, so let's try it. So compiles over here. So this is E. And we ought to run it. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of this, but we're going to say 1, and we're going to say 2, we're going to say 5, we're going to enter a year, 2004, and There is no error. Notice that for 5 we're not reading. We said we're going to read it. We haven't implemented all the steps of the algorithm, so that's no big deal. So the key thing is the thing is compiling and is running. And we've shown you how to find the functions in carlot3 dot functions and to copy the functions over so that you know how to construct the call and how to proceed. All right? So I think with that, let's just do one last thing. We said we need local variables. Remember? We said we need, oh, we got all this done. Okay, so I think we're good. We're good to go. And I think with that, I can turn you loose, and I think you know how to finish it from here. What's the rule? Go one step at a time. Don't be in such a rush. A lot of these patterns will repeat. As I said, the code that will print whatever array you have, whether it's a picked array or the whole inventory, is the same. The headings that you're going to put are probably going to be different. There may be some additional outputs that you need to match the key program, but those are very trivial things. Okay, with that, I'm signing off. Good luck. The first version, our first draft, and we're going to refine it some more. We basically are going to go inside of the function perform view choice, and we are going to include the algorithm steps. We're going to decide how we're going to do each of the menu choices. In the example, I will give you one or two. I will not give you all of them, but I will get you started. Let's take a look at B. Okay, if we look at B, we see that we're going to do the algorithm steps, but let's go look at the main, and let's look at it a little. Dang it. Sorry about that. Let's look at the main, and notice that the main has an inventory of 30 cars. The automobile class has a constructor so that each of the cars really is initialized, but they are all initialized to the same thing. The good news is by the time we get this program together, we actually have test data. And when we actually run the program later on, we don't need to handle 30 cars, so we're just going to say, yeah, we got 30 cars, we only want to use 5 of them. We're going to do that later. Now let's take a look at the algorithm steps and perform, see what we have to do. All right. If I want to display the full inventory menu, we're not going to put the algorithm steps for that. Instead, we're going to do 2, where step 2 says display the full inventory, but by increasing MSRP. So what does that require? Simply requires that you sort first. We're not going to write the code yet, but we know we must sort, and then we must display the inventory, the entire inventory, the same way we did it up here. Okay? Notice that case 1 is the same as case V for program 4. All right? What else? Do we want to do more? Yeah, let's look at case 5. Case 4 will be left to you, but case 5 says display cars selected by year and display them in ascending odometer order. So that first thing we got to do is, oh shoot, okay, I missed something here. Notice the first thing you really need to do is read what year you want. Then you want to pick out the cars from the inventory that match this year. Then once we have the cars picked, we need to sort this array in ascending order and then display the array the same way we did it up here. All right? So let's just go ahead and fix this since we made our boo-boo. Step 2, 3, 4. Step 1 is we're going to read the year. Okay. Now, We're going to see on the next step that the function that will pick out cars based on year has certain parameters, and we'll analyze what the parameters are at that point. All right, and I think at this point we're pretty much done with B. How many of you are noticing that I'm going very slowly? I'm doing that on purpose because you get overwhelmed when you try to do more than one thing. So what's our next step? Well, we made a few changes, and it looks like we just added comments, but we're going to compile anyway to make sure that we're going to do this? No. We want to compile anyway to make sure that we're not making a mess. So let's take a look. Compile B. We didn't mess up anything, and we're going to also just go ahead and compile it and have an executable. We'll call this B. We'll call this B. Oh man, B. Oh, didn't do that right. Didn't do it right. One more time. Okay, we got a couple things here. Let me just point out something to you. I have two commands here. The first command is to compile B underscore view main. That will produce a B underscore view main.o. It is the B underscore view main.o that we're using to compile with all the rest of the components here. And if you were doing this separately, you will see that this second compile takes no time at all, since we are really just doing object files. Now let's move directly into step C, because in step C we're going to go and look at what calls we have to make. So let's go into C. And let's go. So first of all, let's notice that in carlot perform choice function for the main menu, we are given a choice, we're given our inventory, we're given the number of cars. In the main menu, we can change the number of cars because we can buy and sell cars, or we can load cars. And we're also passing the summary data about the activity on the car lot. Now, how much of this do we need when we're just doing the viewing function? Well, certainly we need when we perform view, we need a view, we need the inventory, we need the number of cars, but viewing can never change the number of cars, so we don't pass it by reference. Viewing does not print any summary information that you get from this, so we don't need that. All right? So the header for view, for perform view choice, we've decided upon it. Okay? And likewise, we can go back in to the main, and we can go ahead, and we haven't done that yet. We haven't done the main yet. But eventually, when we call view choice, we're going to pass the same parameters as we had before. So basically, the prototype that we want, I'm messing up. Okay. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This prototype we're going to take and copy it down into the main and have it in front of our eyes so that when we make the actual call, we'll know how to call it. So why don't we just do that? We're just talking. Let's just do it. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to make it a real call. Do I have a choice? Yes, this is the variable for the choice is up here. It's called view choice. It's not v choice. The inventory is where? The inventory is right here. Here's our variable from the main. We have the inventory defined there. So we're going to do that. We're passing it, we're not declaring it. And for number of cars, we have the variable number of cars. So we're making the call. And we've got to put a semicolon. So what we've done is we've said perform view choice. We analyze what parameters we need. When we make the call, we're passing those parameters using the variables that are in the main. All right? So with that, we're going to save that and try to compile it. Okay, here's our compile. We're doing C now. And that compiles. Of course, when you do it, it's not going to compile, but you will know that I only touched the code one or two places, so you can fix whatever is missing. All right. Now, I think we've done all we set out to do, and we're going to quit at this point.